This is a video tutorial for geocoding with Fusion tables within Google Drive. And we're going to go ahead and utilize the following web address to actually get our original data. So we're going to go to www.opengeocode.org. I have it listed right here. This is the site where we're going to get our data. So in this case, I'm at opengeocode.org and I want to get the cities of the world. So I'm going to click on cities of the world. And instead of actually getting the world cities, which is a very large data set, take us a lot of time to process, let's just go ahead and use the US cities. So it's US city zip code data set. And I'm going to go ahead and download that data set. Once it's downloaded here, I'm going to just bring it to my desktop. And I'll unzip it on my desktop. So I'm just going to do a right click and I'm going to extract all here to the desktop. As I do that, it's going to open the folder and there'll be a CSV in that particular location. So let's open it up. There it is. And I'm going to put the original zip file in the trash because we don't need it. And we don't need this notepad, so I'm going to get rid of that. And I am currently in a Gmail account inside Google Drive. So I can go ahead and upload that particular data set that we just unzipped. So I'm going to upload my city zip. And as this is completed, I'll refresh the browser and be able to see that particular file. I'm going to remove that real quickly. So this is the file that we're working with, city zip. And I need to open this in Google Sheets. As I do that, I'm going to still have quite a few cities in the US, and what I want to do is even get that data set smaller just to those cities within California for this particular exercise. And what I want to do in this case is I want to geocode based on city-state, and which means I don't want to use the latitude and longitude columns. So oftentimes you're going to get data that's has some type of addressing in it. Hopefully it would have a really exact address, so it might be 123 Ash Street in San Francisco, California zip code. And in that case, you would be able to get a very specific geocoding from that address, a very exact address to an actual parcel. In this case, we're just going to have our geocoding go to city and state. So what's going to happen is that the geocoding engine behind Google Maps is going to compare our city and state to its own database. And in its database, it has a latitude, longitude, and it's going to associate our naming in our columns to that particular lat long, and then it'll be able to plot the points. So we typically would not get rid of latitude and longitude, but for this exercise, just to go ahead and understand how geocoding works on the address, we're going to strip this particular table. So I'm going to get rid of everything except state and city. So I'm going to go ahead and take these guys and just delete these columns. So all I have is state and city. And then what I want to do is I want to just do another filter here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my A column here, and I just want to get the state of California. So in this case, I want to go up to data and do a filter on this particular column now. So there's my little button I have for filtering, and I'm going to clear everything and then just go back and select California so I can see California as CA. So I go ahead and say OK, and that's just going to give me all my California cities in one particular instance. I'm going to copy this now into a new sheet. So I'm just going to select everything that's currently in there, and I'm going to just do a copy, right click and copy, and then I'm going to make a new sheet called, let's just call this CA cities for California cities. CA cities. And then I'm just going to go into this first cell, and I'm just going to do a Control V to paste everything in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to run a a function within Google Sheets to get everything into one column. So right now we have 2-column location. We want to have a 1-column location. And oftentimes you would do this if you have address components sitting in different columns. So for instance, maybe I might have the number part of an address in one column and then actually have the name of the address in a separate column. So 123 might be in one column, and then the street name, say Ash Street, would be in a separate column. We would need to bring those two together, and we would want to create a space. Google Sheets and Fusion Tables, Google Drive, it likes to see a space as opposed to a column when it has a locational component to it. So let's go ahead and set this up. I'm going to call this now city, semicolon, state. And it's going to be these 2 columns. So I need to get my first cell, and I'm going to set the function at this point. So I'm going to say equals, and then I'm going to type in CON, and that's going to give me concatenate down here on the bottom. And then we can go ahead and put our function in. So Los Angeles is currently sitting in B2, so I'm going to type in B2, and then I'm going to put a comma in. And then I'm going to go ahead and put double quote here, and then a space. That's where I'm going to put my space in. Close up that space with a double quote. I'm going to do a comma, and I want the first column now. So the first column is going to be A2, and then I'm going to close the expression. So there we go. That's exactly what I want. So it's concatenate, and it's B2 space A2. That's exactly what we want. Now we're just going to do a Control-C to copy this to make it active, and we're going to run all the way down to the bottom of our table here, and we're going to do a Shift and then a Control-V for paste. So there it is. That's great. Now let's go ahead and do this. This is the table that we're going to use now to actually do a Fusion Tables Geocode test. So we're going to be searching on a city and a state within California. Let's make sure that Fusion Tables doesn't pick up state and city first to set location. Let's just call state now apples, because we're not going to use it, and we'll call city oranges. Okay, so we're just going to have Fusion Tables disregard those 2 columns. It doesn't know what to do with apples and oranges. It may get excited about city and state. Okay, so now we're not going to be working in city zip. We're only going to be in CA cities. And I've enabled Fusion Tables beforehand, so if I go to More and then go to Google Fusion Tables, I'm going to go now into Google Spreadsheets, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I'm not using my city zip, but my CA cities. That's the one I want to use, and I go ahead and select that. And it's going to search here for this particular table to load it up, and this may take a few moments because it's about 2,000 records, so it's a relatively decent sized sheet. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and say next, and then we're going to finish this. And as it loads in, it may or may not know what to do with our new column that we set up. So it gives us a map of Apple. Let's take a look and see what that gives us. Okay, it's going to try to geocode on that. We don't want that to happen. So let's go back to our original table. And what we're going to do, where it's yellow now, that's where it's looking for a location. Let's go ahead and change these columns now. So oranges is not going to be a locational column. It's going to be just text. And we say save. And then let's go to apples, and we're going to change that, and we're going to have that be text also, and say save. So it doesn't really know what to do now in terms of a mapping instance. But we're going to tell it now to go ahead and geocode on city states. So what we're going to do is go up here and change this column. So right now it's just text. And here we're actually going to tell it, no, your location now. So we go ahead and say location, and we save it. And then as we do that, it's going to go ahead and start the geocoding process on its own here. And we can see it going through as it's geocoding. It's trying to get to 1,682 instances, so it's about 2% finished right now. This is going to take a while, probably about 5 minutes or so, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and when we come back we should have a map of cities in California. Okay, so my geocode is completed at this point, and for the most part it found a pretty good score. It was only had a few ambiguous addresses that it wasn't really able to figure out. Let's go ahead and add a map instance for my geocoded table. So we finished the geocode, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and add a map. And as I add the map, since I have a new column called city-state that I established as a location column and then geocoded on that, it's going to go ahead and see that column as the correct location, and it's going to use the geocoding lat-long to actually place the points. So for the most part, it's done a good job. We have a few problems, and that is these are incorrect. So for Creston, California, let's take a look at this one right here. For Strathmore, California, those are incorrect, and we can actually see those on the map as being incorrect or ambiguous addresses. So we would want to change those and do that interactively. So we could go ahead and go back and do that now, or we could just simply go ahead and save it. We could export it as a KML. But basically, we've gotten ourselves to a geocode situation based on that new column that we created called city-state. So that's basically the process of geocoding. In a nutshell, is that you want to create a column that you then specify as the column that's called location that you're going to geocode on, and then let the geocoding engine behind Google Maps and Fusion Tables go ahead and run that particular address against its latitude, longitude. So hopefully this helps to get a handle on what geocoding is all about within Google Drive. And finally, if you do have ambiguous addresses that you can see on your map, so for instance, we have these points out here. One of my locations is called Creston, California. We can go through the actual table and correct those. I'm going to show you the correction process right now. So if we went back to our table, I'm going to go ahead and search for Creston. So I need to go find my C's and scroll to Creston. This is going to take a few minutes to do. If you were to do all the cities, we're just going to do one of them here. So let me find Creston real quickly. So here's Creston. This is one of the locations that's not geocoded correctly. So I would click on my little editing tool here, and then I can actually edit that geocode. So here I can see it's up here, but obviously that's not where it should be. So it looks like it's found two Crestons that are correct. That's San Luis Obispo. That might not be it. I would have to figure out exactly where I want it to go, or if I want to actually position it somewhere else. So let's go ahead and do a quick Creston, California search and see what it brings us to. So this looks like it's in San Luis Obispo County. That's probably where it's located. So I'm going to go back into my table, and I'm going to go ahead and use this location now for San Luis Obispo County, and say use that location, and then save it. And then as I do that, it says the rows modified, and then in my map I will have lost one of those points that's obviously incorrect for California. So that's a quick little addition to working in a table to correct geocodes that are obviously incorrect. So hopefully that helps clean up your table a little bit.